Special guest, Gail Vaz-Oxlade, joining us right now. All about the money, Joe. Let's get into this.
Okay. Right. Where do you want to start? What's the #1 biggest mistake people make when it comes to their finances?
They have no idea what they're making, and they have no idea what they're spending. So people think of their income in gross dollars. You don't make your gross income. You and the government make your gross income. So stop it. Okay?
Stop right
Tracking
now.
system is so key, and I know you champion this idea.
Absolutely.
What's the best way to keep accountable of the money coming in and going?
Notebook and pen's nice.
Yeah.
Really sophisticated. People keep asking me if I'm going to make an app. No, apps are for lazy people. Because then what happens is you go into Starbucks and you buy your coffee and you put in $4.75 and you forget about it. You don't have to think about it again, and you pat yourself on the back. You did the right thing. Nuh-uh. I want you to write it down, and then I want you to transfer it into your cash flow budget, because when you enter $4.75, the 72 times you did it that month, you're going to choke.
Right.
Okay, and that's the whole point.
The actual act of having to go, wow, that's a lot of $4.75.
That's exactly right, and it's that awareness that changes behavior. You can't change your behavior unless you're aware of what you're doing.
How many people are actually doing that, though? I mean, you talk about common mistakes people make with money.
You are.
I'm all about writing it down.
Writes it all down.
Me too.
I don't.
The people you deal with, how many people are actually writing it down?
Well, none of them. That's why they're dealing with me.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Okay,
scary
they're all
on your
morons.
show, Till Debt Do Us Part, when you actually get to that portion where you tell them you're making $1,600 a month and you're actually spending $2,700 a month on clothes,
Yes.
and they look at you like, and?
Yeah. Well,
And then you do the
sometimes-
math.
Inevitably, when I do those screens, people start backing away from them. So we always say to them when we start shooting, stay where you are, don't move. You have to stay here because the cameras need to be able to see you. They back away because they're so in awe of the numbers when the numbers come up. But you know what? Anybody can do a spending analysis. This is not rocket science, okay? Grade 5 math. You can't tell me you can't do grade 5 math.
It's true.
And you were talking about the basics of common sense. One of the big topics that you touch on too is the idea of, should you charge your kids rent? What's your take and philosophy on this?
Absolutely. If you have adult children living at home and working, you have to charge them rent, because if you don't, what you are doing is you're getting them used to disposable income they're never going to have again. And so in essence, what you are doing is training them to spend all their money. Then when they move out, they're used to spending like that, and so now they start going into debt to cover the rent.
Okay, so what do you tell people from an Indian household? Because you know that's never going to happen from the parents. They never want you to leave.
Well, you know, you have to think to yourself, do you want to be an independent person, or do you always want to be under the thumb of your parents? Because that should be the primary thing. If you want to be a strong, independent, and this is particularly true for women as much as it is for men, okay? If you want to be a strong, independent person, if your parents refuse to take the money, fine, then you have to have the discipline to put the 35% away in a savings account, move it automatically so you don't get used to spending it.
What a great idea. So the onus isn't necessarily on the parent,
No.
it is on the young adult.
But when parents say things like, you know, I don't want to take money from my children, I go, okay, so what you want to do is you want to raise idiots.
Right.
If that's what you want to do, congratulations, you're doing a fine job.
Let's talk about getting into a relationship. So once you've grown a little more, you've established yourself, and you meet somebody who is in debt, and you have a good financial sort of backbone, if you will. Not lots of money, but just how, because you get into those relationships and you feel like, oh, well, you should just amalgamate everything, and you should pay off your...
I disagree with it.
Okay, well, how would you do it?
Because I believe that what you want to do is you want to make a plan together for how you're going to cover your joint expenses. You want to have a joint account and contribute proportionate to your income into the joint account. So the guy who makes 60% of the income pays 60% of the rent or the mortgage, because it's fair. It may not be equal, but it's fair. And what you're doing is you're eliminating the resentment later on, because one guy has loads of money left over and the other person is totally broke all the time. Okay, so proportionate to income. You split everything that you are sharing, and everything else you do individually. No joint credit.
No joint credit.
No joint credit. I beat you like a stepchild.
That is smart, and it's all in the book.
Yeah.
Put up the book. And Gail, Money Rules, you are going to be in Langley at the Chapters Indigo this evening at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
People can come up and have chats with you.
Absolutely. I'll sign, hug, whatever you need.
Oh, and what's the rule on hugging? Patting means?
No patting. If you want to hug, you got to put your arms in there and you got to do a good squeeze.
Pat means?
The pat means let me go.
Learned so much from this lady right here.
See,
listen,
Michelle, the
wealth
pat.
of information.
Stay on her good side too, by the way.
Whoa,
Stay
yeah.
on her good side.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Please come back.
I learned so much. I'm getting out the pad
See?
and pencil later on today, taking notes.